EA Interviews, episode 122.
Inspiration, transformation, success stories, and the Imperfect Action Round. 7 days a week. Join Mario Ficini for today's Expert Authority Effect interview.
Stress, anger. How would you like to be able to manage it better? Do you realize what it's doing in your personal life? I know everyone wants life to be roses and unicorns, but sometimes, a large portion of the time, it isn't always that way. What do you do? What do you do when you have personal conflict? What do you do when you have corporate and business conflict? Maybe it's with a client. Maybe it's with your own team. How do you handle the stress and anger throughout the day? I am super excited to have author, speaker, CEO, and trainer Annuzza Bellissimo here today because she is going to be talking about what we can do in our daily lives, in our business lives, to be able to manage the stress and anger better. I'm going to bring her up right after we thank our sponsor. Winning with Google in 2020? Of course you want to. I'd advise Google search, advertising, and YouTube specialist, Rosh Sillers. Download the free Winning with Google in 2020 guide at eainterviews.com/Rosh Tips. Here she is, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Annuzza Bellissimo. How are you doing, Annuzza?
Hi, Mario. It is a fun Friday. Anytime I'm with you.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm more excited to hear what you have to say because so many people have stress and anger in their life, and how do they manage it? I know you have extensive experience with this. How did you even get into it?
So here's the idea. It's not that stress and anger is the problem. It's that the coping skills that most people have to manage stress and anger is the problem. And again, it's Friday night. I'm here with you, drinking water and doing what I love to do. So ask me again, how did you get into this?
Please tell me, how did you get into all this?
Well, I don't believe in accidents. I do believe in synchronicity. And it truly was an opportunity long time ago, 2005 approximately. I had already been in private practice for life purpose and career consulting, and one of my mentors suggested that I add anger management to the list of services. And I think you've heard the story before. I laughed because the only thing I knew about anger management was the movie. And I didn't realize that it was a real thing. And yes, I finally found out it was a real thing. And I went to George Anderson, who was actually the consultant for the movie Anger Management. And we call him, or he's really considered like the grandfather of anger management. And I trained with George. And ever since 2005, around that time, October, I started to understand the purpose of what anger management really means and began educating people on the aspects and the essence of what anger management truly is. Most people don't know that anger management is an umbrella. It's considered psychoeducation, not psychotherapy, and it's made up of 3 specific skill sets: stress management, emotional intelligence, and interpersonal communication skills. Typically, we're taught, if you're raised or brought up in a productive, healthy environment, you're taught coping skills, self-soothing, stress management skills, good conversation and communication skills, and emotional fitness or resiliency. But unfortunately, a lot of us are not taught that at home. We're not taught that in school. And now it's just beginning to shift in the environment, in our society. But I guess, really, I was coaching and doing anger management before it was cool, so to speak. It's been a while.
And you've helped so many people over the years. Who is it you would say you really help, and how are you helping them?
Well, honestly, there's different levels of help, so to speak. An organization will bring in an employee that has reached their capacity, tolerance level, and they need to be assessed and see if they're still an asset or a liability to the organization. So that's an important part of my job. And then addressing the situation accordingly once we understand the skill set and the personal objectives of that individual. So you've got that type of experience. And then you have a completely opposite, but still just as important, the kind of client that I'm helping where there's a disconnect or a breakdown in communication in and around the relationships at home, whether it's a child and a parent, siblings. Usually it's a husband and wife. So I always joke, lightly, I say, so are you boss referred, court referred, or wife referred? So, they'll let me know, well, my wife thought, or my husband thought, or my boss is demanding, or the courts are requiring.
So you could have anyone that's, like you're saying, a court issue. I mean, depending on who you ask, it might be better or worse than your wife referring you, but you also have the corporate side of things where would you say it's evenly split, or do you gravitate towards one more than the other?
At the beginning of my anger management, stress management experience, in my practice, it was certainly a lot of corporate clients. And in fact, I started with court orders, group court orders, co-ed in my office in Hermosa Beach. And it was certainly an experience, to put it lightly. And it taught me some of the most profound experiences, and it taught me what it really meant to have emotional intelligence or emotional fitness, to be able to understand someone, not have to put myself in their shoes, from a completely different lifestyle, from a completely different aspect of life that I would never even imagine experiencing, to really having empathy and helping them through the process when all they're wanting to do is get out of pain. And typically, if someone's court ordered, it's because they've overused alcohol or negative communication and violence or aggressive behavior, things of that nature. So it's gotten out of control, in other words. Not to mention, it could be the same thing at work, but typically we do our best to be a little more behaved at work. Not all of us, crazy things, but yeah, that's, then we get to the next level where it's inside of a personal relationship. And that's when there are very little boundaries and people really lose control there. So I apologize if I didn't answer your question directly, but hopefully that makes a little bit of sense.
You did. And I wanted to ask about the corporate, because there's so many business owners where, obviously the CEO is always right, other than every time he's not. And then you have the team and the staff. And, there's one of these quotes I saw where it's, when you stop asking your team questions, they stop wanting to give you answers. And there's that whole leadership, leaders pull where bosses push. And so you can have a problem with the CEO just as much as a bad employee. What would you say is most common, and how do you help someone fix it?
That's more about sensitivity training. There's a different language that we use when it comes to organizational training and the professional development aspect of soft skills. And when we're in a, court or personal setting, it's typically anger management. When you're talking about corporate, I don't recommend public humiliation as an order of reprimanding someone. I think it only makes it worse. So I believe that we want to be more sensitive in the professional environment, because there's a stigma and people are very sensitive to it, and they become defensive in their sensitivity. And that shuts down the ability to learn and my ability to train. If someone's not willing to be open to the experience and hear what you're wanting to share with them in order for them to improve their own life.
It
Does that make
absolutely
sense?
does. And from strictly speaking on the bottom line, what does that do to a company when people aren't as effective and they're not communicating?
What does that do to a company? Well, it's typically addressed in performance plans. Let's say someone has a problem at work, high stress, they'll typically go to HR and look for resources. But if they don't approach it and it becomes a problem in the workplace, then we look at developing a performance plan for that employee or that business owner. I have a lot of business owners who come to me because they understand the effects that chronic stress has on their ability to perform in the workplace. It affects the psyche, it affects the self-confidence. There's so many levels that it's affecting within their organization, within their communication style. We communicate very differently when we're in fight or flight versus when we're in relax mode on Friday night, for example, and it's there's a lot of ego that's also involved within the process. So it's important to identify where the individual is at so you can meet them there and they can feel that you only want to help them, not just know, but feel, in essence, really understand that it's your objective, my objective, to serve, not to make them wrong or punish them or humiliate them, because that doesn't serve the process of personal growth and development.
So it's not necessarily just communicating with the CEO and the team and the clients and everything. It could be everything's going fine, profits are up, but you're so stressed, you're wound tighter than a firecracker on the 4th of July.
A lot of people use stress and a lot of people use anger to motivate them in that direction. Yet what happens is it creates burnout. So now you've got a double-edged sword: chronic stress, anger showing up in your personal life. Maybe you're controlling it at work, but everyone can see how tense you are. They can feel, your stress, and you can deny it as much as you want to, but you wear it. You really do wear it in your persona, on your face. And the best way to notice that is when people don't open up or communicate with you anymore because they're afraid. And that affects communication within the organization because no one wants to say anything, whether they feel they're not going to be heard or they don't want to be reprimanded or they just are afraid to say something in general because they're not sure when this person might lose control.
What would you suggest for someone that's in that position right now to address it? If they're working for the company and they want to say something to the boss, or if they are the boss, I think this is more common than not because the leader has to always have everything right and nothing can go wrong. And, what would you say?
That's a leadership issue because every leader that is productive within their environment is able to own their faults, own their mistakes, own their failures, because that's part of growth. If you're not able to show vulnerability as a leader, there's no way that those around you are going to even consider demonstrating any type of vulnerability by giving you that $1 million idea, by giving you a great resource or referral. It just shuts down so many aspects of productivity and growth within the organization. And that, of course, affects the bottom line.
So what I'm hearing in there, correct me if I'm wrong, is that vulnerability is actually a strength.
Correct. Yes. That's right. It is. And it's one of the first leadership strengths that I always suggest we look at. What is it that holds you back from demonstrating vulnerability? What are your beliefs around vulnerability? And it's really interesting because when we talk about that, I think there's a specific stigma that lies around men and vulnerability. And I have to say that probably 90% of my clients are male, and they struggle in the shift between vulnerability and strength, and what it means in our culture and our society to demonstrate strength while showing vulnerability. I mean, it's like an oxymoron, right? The large shrimp.
That's true.
Do you know
Absolutely.
what I mean? But it's a conditioned response in our culture, and it can be, as my friend Elizabeth likes to say, unconditioned. That's the process, is that we've created habits and routines that no longer serve us, and we've realized that because there's a lot of rage, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of self-righteousness. People don't feel heard, they don't feel cared for, and everyone seems, not everyone, but a lot of places, people, places, and things, businesses, individuals, function from fear. I'm afraid you're going to take advantage of me. I'm afraid you're going to take my job. I'm afraid you're going to lie to me. I'm afraid you're going to make me a fool. I mean, the list is endless. When you're functioning from that, especially in particular, competition, when we talk about business, people are afraid, oh, my competition. I have to tell you, I've never thought that way. I have never once considered competition, because I know my strengths and my value. And I understand that there is no other like me, just like there's no other like you. And each and every individual has that unique fingerprint, right? So we all have these filters and these beliefs, but everything that makes us who we are, there's no competition. There's not another you.
I love that you're sharing that.
Doesn't that make sense?
I always use the example of scarcity versus abundance mindset. And even if someone does the exact same thing as you, even as good as you do, you have your own twist, your own uniqueness. And the reality is most people don't follow up. I use this all the time. Their skills in business might be rock star, but the business side of things, there's people I'm just like, you would have got my business like tens of thousands of dollars had you just called me. Had you shot me an email, even a text or anything, and it's like, oh, how do I get more clients and leads? Are you kidding me? Be a better person. You don't need to amplify the problem. You are the problem.
I have a perfect example of that. I'm so glad you brought that up. I rarely ever do I make time anymore to take one of those, what do we call them? There's a name. Oh my gosh, it's like a we want to get to know you type of phone call.
Discovery calls.
Oh, there you go. I couldn't think of it. Yeah. And so I made one effort today. And I can't remember when was the last time I made an effort to do a discovery call with anybody, because
hold on, let me pause you right there. Can you start back right after the discovery call? It froze or something.
Sure. So what I'm suggesting is that rarely do I just don't make time for discovery calls. And it seems that, for example, on LinkedIn, let's say, all I'm doing is being hit up by people who want to sell me something. So I don't subscribe to that. And I really do appreciate the networking and someone who takes time to let me know about them. And so I got on this call today, and I would have given them my money. But this man was so interested in scaring me, the scarcity mindset out of, oh, well, we don't know if you qualify for coaching conversation. And we don't know if you're willing to do the work that it's going to take. That, I wanted to hang up.
Why
so
didn't
badly.
you?
And I wanted to just say to him, because I wanted to I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Because I thought to myself, okay, this might be one thing that I'm interested in understanding or learning more about. And I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'd watched all these videos. They really sold me in the front. And then when it came to talking to the actual human being, I was so turned off. I thought, and you want me to give you $10,000? Are you kidding me? Before I spoke to the human being, I actually considered it. After I spoke to the human being, I was like, there's no way I'm doing business with these people. They run out of scarcity. I cannot function in business with someone who's constantly afraid. That is the last thing I want in my space, is someone working with me or trying to teach me something, and they're in fight or flight.
It's not a good place.
I
know exactly what you mean, because
it's not a good
I've
place.
been getting hit up for years, LinkedIn, Facebook, and whatever, just for business.
Yeah.
And ever since I launched EA Interviews, now people want to be on the show too. And it's very interesting to see how people are behind the scenes, because you can look at their website and be like, wow, this is awesome. And you talk to them and you're like, dude, you need to go to Hollywood. You're going to get an Academy Award. And that's the thing with marketing, because I help
marketing.
What's that?
Marketing.
Yeah, I help people with the funnels and this process. And if you are doing discovery calls, for anyone listening, don't call them discovery calls. Customize them to what you do specifically for the benefit you're going to give them, and don't have the intent that you're going to sell them on the call. I had one today, and I just wanted to add value, because the reality is, even if you're chomping at the bit to get started, maybe I don't want you. Maybe you don't qualify. It's just as much as a filter for me as it is for someone else. But I've been on them, and it's the same thing. Okay, well, we're going to – and I'm like, well, it sounds good. Let me stop you there. No. I'll make this easy for you. I'm not wasting another 45 minutes of you going through the script. You ain't even listening to me. Put the phone down for a second and listen.
And the point – exactly. And at the end of this 20-minute call, I thought to myself, what a waste of time. I don't even know what he was trying to sell me. I still have no clue. I kept asking, but what is it that you're providing? Well, we don't know if you qualify for that, so we'll get to that.
And let me ask you this. If they were nicer, had gone about it different, you probably would have paid 15 or 20 if you knew it was clear and would have helped you.
Right, exactly. That's the point. When there's but I'm telling you, it has everything to do with the fight or flight response. It's so simple to point out someone who's in fight or flight, someone who doesn't have the ability to regulate their nervous system or be or self-reflect or just take the time to breathe.
I got to interject here. How can you tell if someone's just antsy, anxious, and they're just operating out of that, or they just had like 15 Starbucks and they're just wigging?
Well, that's my point. That's a great question, by the way.
I wasn't even trying to be serious. That was mostly a joke, but thanks. I planned that.
No, actually, I just had this discussion with one of my clients who took himself off of social media, took himself off of coffee, because he realized in our work that these are addictive behaviors. And when he reached a level of success in his business, he didn't change the behavior. He kept doing the same thing, and then reached a plateau and was trying to get to the next level, but couldn't understand how his stress and lack of communication, emotional intelligence was affecting not only his personal, but his professional life.
So addiction can be more than drugs and alcohol?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Addiction is television and food and, here's the best one that we get addicted to: relationships. People constantly, the serial dating, looking for the next one, seeking the high, the chemical, endorphins, and just it's no different than a gambler. It's no different than someone who's addicted to a drug, because they're looking for the dopamine hit that you get when you start meeting or you start dating or you're courting someone. It's an addictive behavior.
So
no different than being addicted to
So
sugar.
what I'm hearing here is that people should be more self-aware of what they're doing and not worry about the outcomes so much as the habits that they're creating it with.
Yes. Here's what comes to mind. If this person, the other day when you saw me online interviewing Dolores Garcia, she is passionate. She's real. She's genuine. She's not wanting to take. She wants to give. And you can feel that when a person just wants to take. You can feel that. That's what I'm talking about. When someone isn't able to self-regulate, they're not self-aware, and they've got this energy of fight or flight. Gimme, gimme, gimme. I want to take from you. And yeah, sure, they might be able to put on a sweet little face for a little while, but eventually they're going to lose their top. It's just a matter of time. It's not if, it's when. Get it handled.
Make sure you have social
acuity. And now the holidays are here. Yes. And the holidays are here. So people feel pressure to spend more money on gifts for people that they never talk to, and go to parties that they don't want to go to see people that they don't want to see. And, it's on and on. So most people don't understand how these little, what they call or consider little instances in their life are building up and up and up. And now we have a very high level of stress, and it's chronic, it's constant. We're not meant to handle that level of stress all the time, and caffeine puts stress on your body. So if you're not getting the rest that you need, and you need a bunch of caffeine to motivate you to wake up or to run your business, you're doing it wrong, and you're in the wrong business. That's just my opinion.
That's a good transition point. I'm like, I didn't overdo it. I was only a little. I don't drink coffee every day. I'm not against it. But, when you can get into, I call it invincibility mode, when it's like, you close 14 deals, you get off stage, you just launched a book, you're launching a new app, you launched a new show, and everything's going. You don't want to sleep. But you can't do it forever. And I totally get that. I just was like, No, I've been getting rest, I think. Whatever, we're going to move on from this one because I don't want to talk about me. No, I'm totally open with it, and I'm fully aware.
Sleep is really important. Yeah.
Let me ask you, though, in all seriousness, transformation. I know you've helped so many people and you're great at what you do. What's the biggest transformation you've been able to give somebody?
Wow. That's a tough question.
Is it tough because you have to think of it, or you have to narrow it down from dozens to one?
I'd have to narrow it down. I mean, there's certain people that really come to mind that I could just tear up and cry right now thinking about the difference that the work made for them. But I would say that it's just hard to say, but it's also,
you can share it. Don't go surface level, because people need to know this, because
it's challenging because the work is so deep and people don't understand what's available to them until they feel or experience waking up in the morning. And it's not anything conscious. It just comes up. And the words, I'm happy, I feel good. You don't have to even think about it. It's not a mantra on your mirror or something that you have to put on your app to remind you to say. There's nothing that I could describe or compare it to. I wish I could say there's one person, but there's been people at different levels, like a CEO of a senior vice president of a really big school, all the way down to a young girl that, is in her teens and is going through trouble and crisis in her life and taking the course, even though it's court ordered. It's the best thing that could have happened for her, as opposed to someone being boss ordered, or occasionally, once in a while, someone doesn't have crisis and they come in and they say, I want to work on myself, but that's super rare. I wish I could just give you an example of one person, but they're at different levels and different lifestyles. And
why don't you take one of the corporate ones? Because there's one that comes to mind about like 6 months later, he was having issues with the family. And like 6 months later, he was making time for him, and profits actually went up from doing less.
Oh my goodness. I'm thinking, oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. speaking of LinkedIn, we just connected. I was like, hey, how are you doing? And he's still doing really good. So this was earlier in my practice, where he was one of those people that said, sort of an issue for me. And my wife thinks I should come in and get this, get started working on myself. And he did. And he was self-employed. And he, after going through the communication portion of the work, and everyone is different because the courses are tailored according to the individual. There's no throwing spaghetti on the wall and let's see what, sticks. Each and every person completes an assessment. It's very thorough. It's 244 questions. It takes a good 45 minutes. I'm looking for areas that you're out of integrity, the spaces that you don't, those scotomas, as John Assaraf says, that those blind spots that we can't see in our life. And then we take that and we look at your personal objectives. And that gives me an idea of how aware or how clueless are you of what you're doing in your life? Because a lot of people are really not aware, obviously, of how their communication, their stress factor, the way that they compose themselves, their body language affects those around them. So when we do something like that, and we're working with even a third-party survey, we survey their friends and family if they allow us, we get deep. And working on how people feel when they get to see how people feel around them when they're under stress, how people are afraid, how people avoid them, how people will lie to them, how people will take from them because all of these factors, then it's the shift. It's a huge shift. And in fact, that one client was one of my group clients in the History Channel clip. He was a big part in the beginning, and he made the most significant change every day. All he did, and this sounds really simple, but was he started to understand the work and be present. He was focused on being present, not how do I fix this problem? Why is she saying that? What does that mean? It was being present. And that is the biggest gift that you can give someone, is to actually be present and feel and hear them from their spirit, who they're being, the sense of who they are. Just being with someone, not being in the room. Many times I've been in the room with someone who I'm talking to and they're on their phone. Yeah. Not that. Not hurry up and listen to me and run out the door. Really being present with people. And again, that comes from self-regulation.
You want them listening with their eyes.
Listening with their heart. Listening with their eyes. Feeling that essence of what is it that you need from me right now? And I don't always need you to fix it. Sometimes, most of the time, I just need you to listen so I can fix it myself. I like people who like to teach me things, not do things for me. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does.
It gives value, and it shows that you trust me enough to teach me something, to spend time with me, to listen to me, to get me. That's what minimizes those negative coping skills that most people have in place, like sex, drugs, alcohol, food, television, numbing out, just the numbing out source. Whether it's, going out all the time, never being alone, they can't handle being alone. There's so many components of this, but he certainly took not only his life, but his business, and I think it was like 30% increase in his income. It was amazing, but that's just one story. And there's been so many. I told you, I was like, wow, I can't believe I've been doing this for so long. I would like to, when I die, I hope that some of those people show up and and party together, that we all got to experience each other's spirit and be a better version of ourselves together.
Well, I have no doubt you're making an impact. It's been fun watching over the years. And I want to ask you, who is someone you would love to work with that you can help that you haven't been able to, that is either a sports or celebrity or someone everyone would know?
That's another good question. Really? Oh my goodness. I don't know. I mean, I feel a little concerned about saying that out loud. I'd have to think about that for a second. Let me think. Who do I think in the public that would benefit from? I'm sure people are thinking of people right now, aren't they? They're like, oh, I know. Because you know what I always say is, if I had a penny for every person that I met and they asked me what I do for a living and they said to me, oh, I know someone who needs to see you.
Do you ever get anyone that says themselves they're that aware that they need it and admit it? Or do you ever have one friend, person A referring person B, and person B is referring A?
Yes to both. I do. I have had some people that are really aware and they're like, you know what, this is the time I could really use the training that you provide. And then it's usually,
no, I'm fine, but you need to talk to Jack. Problem. And Jill's like,
yeah, exactly.
I'm fine,
the other
but you
person's
need to talk
the problem.
To Jill.
Yep. A lot. Yeah.
All right. So instead of working with them, who's someone you find interesting as an entrepreneur you'd just love to meet? That was more of the intent. But with what you do, I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of people that I know need it. Like pretty much everyone on whatever level. But who would you just love to meet that, inspires you as an entrepreneur and CEO?
Let's see. Hold on a second. So the first person that comes to my mind, I love Oprah. I love Tony. I love Brene. I love what they stand for. I love their work in the world. I love their personal power. I love their courage. As far as working with people, I still want to come up with one of those. Can I just Google celebrities?
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to go to the imperfect action round. And when we're thanking the sponsor, you're welcome to. I was actually going to joke and say, you're not using a cheat sheet and Googling stuff now, are you?
I was going to say, can I Google angry celebrities?
All right. Well, we're going to thank our sponsor and come back for the imperfect action round. Winning with Google in 2020? I have no doubt you want to for your business, but who do you trust and where do you start? I'd advise Rosh Sillars. Not only was he episode 22's featured VIP guest, but he's also a Google specialist with search, advertising, and YouTube. And I had him put together this free Winning with Google in 2020 guide for you to get started with right now. Go to eainterviews.com/Rosh Tips to get your free download now. Once again, that's eainterviews.com/Rosh Tips. All right, and we are back with the imperfect action round. Anutsa, are you ready to take imperfect action?
Okay, let's do this.
All right, these are 60-second answers, rapid fire, and just wanted to follow back up. You were doing a little bit of research intelligence gathering research. Do you want to complete that thought, or do you just want to...
Do you know the only person that keeps coming up on this feed is Alec Baldwin?
Oh, jeez. You can't talk about him. I had him on the show last week.
No, really, there's several here.
He would actually be a great example, and I'm just going to transition to the imperfect action round with, if you can hear what I'm saying, you should check out the Comedy Central roast of him.
Okay.
All right, imperfect... Good answer. What's the first question? What is it? Okay. What is the fastest path to the cash in your experience?
Kindness.
Why?
Reciprocity.
It's not Wheel of Fortune. You don't need to give a different answer. I was curious why you said kindness.
Yeah, because of reciprocity.
Okay.
It's human nature.
Okay. Fair enough. I got it. My bad.
You're slacking on the job here, Bonnie.
Number 2. Awesome. What is the biggest problem you see your prospects making and the fastest way they can fix it?
Biggest problem. Not slowing down. Too fast. Always busy. And what was the second part of your question?
Fastest way they can fix it.
Fastest way to fix it. Work with me. No, really.
There'll be a link in the show notes.
Work with me. And choose differently.
Number 3. Here we go. What is the best way to maximize customer lifetime value?
Authenticity and vulnerability.
Excellent. Books. What is a book or 3 you could recommend? You're cheating again.
Ooh. I am. Oh my gosh. Off the top of my head. Hold on. Oh, okay. I'll go with The Highly Effective Executive, number 1.
By
Anuzia Bellissimo.
Excellent.
Number 2, Breaking the Anger Habit first one. It's just I'm going up off the top of my head. Anuzia Bellissimo. All right, wait, there's one more. Oh, why? Hey, what is it? The Habit Loop.
Say it again.
Habit Loop?
By.
Hold on. I have it right there. It's in my bookshelf.
How are you not naming Brene Brown? She's awesome and she has books and you already mentioned her.
I know, but I can't think of the names off the top of my head.
Oh.
These are the ones that I use within my practice. Okay. So this is what I know makes a difference. Oh, Becoming Supernatural. Joe Dispenza.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a big one. I'm telling you, I'm going to leave the screen and I'm going to go get my books. So these are my favorites. I'm not doing self-promotion at this point. Are you ready for them?
Of course. I'm still here.
First one.
Oh,
Yes.
The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg. I've had at least one other VIP guest mention that one. Episode 27, I want to say, Nicole Gebhardt.
Look, I have a couple of stickies in here, actually. And there's my next one.
Can you say it for me with the author?
Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Excellent.
But before there was this is the book that made significant change for me. Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. That is my all-time favorite.
And where's yours at? Because I am going to be asking you where people can get your books and learn more about you.
I don't have it. Someone else just asked me for one. I don't even have any more.
That's a good problem. Best-selling author.
I know.
Doesn't mean keep them in stock.
I don't have any
You're
more.
supposed to be selling them.
I do. I need to get more in stock, but I don't have any more. When I go back out and I'm traveling again, I will have some more. But everything else is
You're doing it right.
online.
My stock's getting low too because I keep selling them. That's the way it's supposed to do. When someone's like, "Yeah, I got 1,000 in stock," like you need to make an offer, bro.
That was my anthology, the very first one. Yeah, I was like, okay, we're going to give the rest of these away. And then I learned.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. You always deliver value, and I'm so glad you were able to.
You're so sweet. You don't have any more rapid fire questions?
You did the 3.
That was a lot of fun.
Oh, you like those, huh?
Yeah, it puts me on, like I don't have anyone that
I could queue up a scoreboard and have like Wheel of Fortune on here if you really want me to. Be like, all right, 3 spins or less. Otherwise,
I gotta go have dinner. Seriously, it's
where can people learn more about you?
Oh, thesammygroup.com. THE. SAMI is the acronym for Stress and Anger Management Institute. So THESAMIGROUP.com.
Excellent. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you again for sharing, Anuzia.
I am so glad you caught me and you were like, hey, let's do this. I was like, okay, that's crazy. Sure, let's do it tomorrow. Thank you, Mario. I had a blast. It's always fun with you. I will see you on the dance floor, my friend.
Looking forward to it. All right, Expert Authority World, we got another great episode here. I'll see you on tomorrow's. Have a great day, and God bless. There's money in the metrics. Do you know yours? Pipedrive is the simplest and easiest CRM to close more deals, deepen your relationships, and increase your business profits. Get your free trial today at eainterviews.com/pipedrive. Hey, thanks for listening to today's episode. I hope you got a lot out of it. I know I sure did. If you haven't done so already, I invite you to subscribe to the show. And also be sure to check out eainterviews.com for complete show notes, the full interview video experience, links to the resources we mentioned, and more. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you tomorrow.